Okay, let's call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Here.
Mr. Kubicki?
Here.
Ms. Hughes?
Here.
Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. That, I make a motion to approve and for the approval and signing of the meeting minutes, the regular meeting minutes of May 10th, 2022. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
Okay, now we move on to open forum.
No one has signed up, but,
I should have,
oh, I'm so sorry.
but there wasn't something when it came in. Indian Hill Place is having its annual,
And just so we get used to it, just if you could name and address.
Tom Schramm, 6870 Indian Hill Place.
Right.
The Indian Hill Place Homeowners Association is having their annual meeting on July 12th at 6 o'clock at Unit 6870. Chief Sifty and Lieutenant Neighbor will be attending for information and to meet the owners. And I extend the invitation to the trustees.
And what's the date again?
July 12th, at 6 o'clock. It's a Tuesday. I think it's after the meeting here. We run it very efficiently as you do. And we will put you at the front, so when we're done, you can take off and you don't have to listen to the resolutions, etc.
Okay, we'll have a discussion, and I
Yeah.
don't see why we wouldn't represent being there.
We also have a JEDZ annual budget meeting after this meeting that day.
Is that the same day as our typical meeting here?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll figure something out, but I appreciate you extending the invite. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
That's nice of you.
Okay. Any other?
I have one. I'll wait to read it when we talk about the block party. Yeah.
That's all?
Okay, all right, next we move on to the reports. So we start with the fiscal officer's report, and always the very important Ms. Caroline Heaton. Go.
For May, ending with May over, we're almost at the halfway point of the budget year. Our general fund balance is $3,688,814, which is an increase of 1.5% from April. Restricted fund balance is $5,905,402, which is a decrease of 2% from April. These funds combined total $9,594,216, which is an increase of 1% about from April. Revenues for May were $854,630, with expenses at $507,802. Year-to-date revenues, $3,725,259. Year-to-date expenses, $2,164,752. The voter-approved levy revenues do not fully cover the cost of the township's public services. Our JEDZ business revenues cover the cost of services that exceed property tax revenues. Thanks to Columbia Township's success in attracting and supporting our businesses, we're able to continue to provide our community with exceptional services at a lower cost.
Thank you. Any questions, Ms. Controller? Okay, any questions about the road superintendent's report or any comments? Okay, then we move on to the always wise Ms. Taylor, the administrator's report.
Good evening. We always open with thank you to our awesome staff. We've had a number of events already this year. We still have many events to go, and we've had a number of storms this year. June each year, as I looked back at 2020, my first year here, 2021, and then this year we have had successive major storms in June each year. So our staff, what I wanted to share and remind everybody today is that our staff not only strives to deliver exceptional services Monday through Friday, but also after hours and on weekends. And when we do events those weeks, our staff works 6 to 7 days a week and then comes back in on Monday and starts the week all over again. So I shared some pictures with you of some recent events where our staff has helped pull the whole event together. And then, for example, I wanted to do a shout out to Dustin Dustin left work late yesterday, drove to his home in Warren County, and when the storm started coming through, in the storm, he turned around and drove back here so that he could drive every street to see if there was anything that might be needed instead of waiting until this morning. So I just wanted to make sure that we do a shout out to the staff for all their extra duty that they do.
It's funny, somebody from Marymount I ran into said, "Did you lose power?" I said, "No, we don't lose power in Columbia Township."
Ooh.
Superpowers.
Your superpowers. Okay, under administration, the 2020-2021 audit is underway for Columbia Township still, and also for the JEDZ. That's usually a multi-month process. Moving on to happier things. Great things are happening in Columbia Township. Our Margaritaville Block Party, in which we have a mini event, the Taste of Columbia Township. I'll leave it to the trustees report to talk about that event, but I will say that it was reported to be the largest crowd of any event that Columbia Township has hosted. And so we understand that that's a function of what we're offering and what the weather provides on that day.
And it's interesting, the people from 50 West, they do a lot of these type of events, said it was the best thing that we've ever done by a long shot.
Terrific.
So,
We're getting better each year.
Kudos to you and the staff.
The community events, so we have 3 down: St. Patrick's Day, the Flying Pig Curly Tailgate, and the Margaritaville Taste of Columbia Township. We have 5 to go, and I want to just run through them quickly so that anyone who may not have this at home will. Community Day at Deer Park Silverton Fire District, and we have Chief Meter here with us this evening, Saturday, July 23rd, and we will be sending out an invitation to residents and businesses in the Ridge and Highland District that Deer Park Silverton Fire District serves for that. We have our annual National Band Tribute Summer Concert at 50 West on Saturday, August the 6th. We'll be doing a direct mailer and a lot of publicity on that one later this midsummer. We have a Bengals tailgate Sunday, September 18th. We're starting to put that one together. And then a Halloween event that we're looking at expanding and adding some new experiences to. Halloween this year is on Monday, October the 31st. And then we end the year with our beautiful Luminaria, always the first Thursday in December, and this year it's Thursday, December 1st. We continue to make progress on our $500,000 NED program, which is the Neighborhood Economic Development Program. More people are meeting Jerry, our arborist, as he has been out and about with utility markings, which I've explained in prior meetings why that is part of the program development. And I want to also recognize Jerry and Dustin also, especially in light of what happened with last night's storm and previous storms where trees are coming down. We have 700 plus street trees in Columbia Township. We potentially are putting in areas that don't have trees, another 500 to 700. So the very beginning act, or at the very start of the NED program, the first thing that we did was have Jerry, and I mentioned this in a prior meeting, have Jerry assess the health of every tree that we have. And he works through a multi-factor assessment, disease, decay, other things like that, and then he rates the tree for immediate removal due to safety or for monitoring. And there are several trees. There was one tree that we ended up having to take down today in Madison Place that was a safety risk, and then several other trees that we sent out samples to come back to be tested to let us know what's happening inside the tree because we can only observe conditions outside the tree. So I just think that it's interesting that while we are working through this multi-step program to put new trees in, we're making sure, while we have experts on the scene, so to speak, that we're taking care of the health for the safety, the public safety of our residents. And it's very sad for us when we have to go to a resident and say that we have to remove a tree that's mature and beautiful and provides shade, but it's a risk to their home and to the homes of their neighbors around us and to fall on a car. And I know when I was driving home, unfortunately in the storm last evening, I witnessed trees falling on power lines and on the road in front of me. And we do not want that to happen. And part of our obligation and responsibility to our residents is to make sure that we stay on top of our inventory, which includes not just roads and facilities, but trees. So I wanted to say that Jerry's been amazing in helping us with that. And we'll have a complete inventory of that.
Can I add to that?
When we're done, please do.
I'm really happy at the long-term planning that this is helping us with Jerry. It's such an amazing opportunity for us as a township to do this. I've had a couple of questions from residents around the marking of the gas lines and I guess their water lines that they're marking.
All utilities underground?
All utilities underground, especially in
overhead.
Madison Place, and I'm sure in all the other neighborhoods that got trees are doing that as well. That's just to make sure that when we plant a tree, we're not on top of lines, right?
That's to make sure that we don't plant trees where
Right.
where there are conflicts.
Yep.
Depending on how deep the utility lines are. Some utilities are 18 inches, typically telecom, and a lot of the water and sewer and other hefty big boss type utilities are deeper. And so where there are shallow utilities, typically we cannot plant a tree, so we're doing all utility markings underground and overhead, and then making a determination about whether a small tree or no tree or a standard tree could go in, and then all of that information will be made available to the residents through a direct mail.
Yep, and thank you. And you don't have to get a tree. That was a question I got. We're not going to force anyone to get
No.
a tree if they don't want a tree in their yard. And it'll also be designed for where we're putting it. So
Correct.
in 20 years, it's not going to destroy your sidewalk, for example.
Correct.
And that's one of the great things is that we didn't do in the past. Not many communities did it in the past. They just planted a tree or whatever. There's a systematic approach to the types of trees that we're recommending people plant that will complement each other and also long-term sustainability, right?
Jerry is specifically matching tree type with the tree lawn,
Yep.
which is the available space, both depth, width, underground, and above ground. So it's 4 dimensions, just like your home, roofs, walls, and floor. And also in the context of the look when you are driving down the street, because and where the canopy is missing, where there's a tree canopy missing. And so some houses have trees and they're mature trees, and some houses have none. And so you get a jagged feel when you're driving down the street, and you also don't have a protective tree canopy, which provides shade in the summer, much needed today. So he's looking at that. So residents, if they have a major concern, can opt out of a tree. Each resident that opts out of the tree, then it's a disruption of the design for each street, because he has put that thought into alternating trees. But some residents, because of on-street parking, open and close their doors. So we have several options if residents need to request to opt
Okay.
out. And we'll consider that.
Okay.
But yeah, we're not going to put a tree in where a resident doesn't want it, because likely the history repeats itself. It'll end up being killed. They hit
Yeah.
it with a
Yeah,
lawnmower or a door too much, and so we
Yeah.
don't want to waste the township's money.
right. Thank you.
So on our road projects, just a brief update. Buckingham and Cambridge are going really well. We're getting close to wrapping up on Buckingham, and then we will restart Cambridge at the end of this month. And a quick note on the next road project that was up, which is Cambridge East. So we're currently doing Cambridge, what we call West. The next project on our 10-year road priority list is Cambridge East, which is from Plainville to Grove. Before we can move forward to engineer a complete reconstruction of Cambridge East, which it needs, complete reconstruction with road drainage. I've shared before with the trustees that because Cambridge, Grace, and Murray on the east of Plainville are the lowest part of Madisonville. So as storms, again, the theme of the meeting, storms increase in frequency and intensity. The burden falls on communities that we have to build additional drainage infrastructure into our roads because more stormwater is falling on the roads and we have to capture it and hold it because downstream systems, what they call conveyance systems, are over capacity. So we're working on that study currently. And also we heard that we may not receive an OPWC grant this year as hoped for Cambridge East. And so we'll look again at having the economic development tool, the new economic development tool in Madison Place of the Plainville TIF, and see if it's an option to fund the entire road out of that TIF or if we look at some other options. But OPWC was inundated this year and the road did not score. It appears the road did not score well enough to be approved, which means we have to put it back into the slot for next year. And then we have a large agenda tonight. I don't think there's anything that I haven't brought up before, other than we have a business that I haven't mentioned before, and Dustin will be back in July for a full economic development report, but Pedigo, I know you and I have talked about this. So Pedigo, I think it is, Pedigo Electric Bikes has now opened near Jersey Mike's where you can purchase a new or a slightly used, formerly loved bike, really cool store. And so, and we're still waiting for Cervati's Bakery to open, but they are doing some interior renovations. And that's all I have on my report. Thank you.
Any questions about the report?
Now, I would like to add, though, to your flooding, not flooding, but the stormwater management, sorry. We call it flooding in Madison Place. That I'm really excited about that. We've talked about that a couple meetings, and I think we're really thinking creatively with the help of the consultant we've hired about ways to prevent flooding, which is passionate in that entire area, not just in Madison Place, but there are other areas that experience flooding, Worcester as
Prone
well.
to flooding.
Yeah,
Right.
and so as that comes, I think we'll have some interesting solutions that we'll have to vote on at some point.
Probably at the end of the year. And so the street stormwater management is a big part, is the first major part of stormwater management. And we always have had street stormwater management.
Yeah.
But with streets that are 30 plus years old, storms aren't what they were 30 plus years ago. So we want to make sure that we increase our capacity. And then as I shared before, part of that stormwater assessment will be looking at on resident property where there are private systems that the same is happening to. They're undersized due to the changes in storm activity. They are not maintained, they're failing. And so how can we work with them on grants and such to assist those, and then opportunities for other, I'm learning a lot of stormwater terms, stormwater conveyance systems. So yes, it's a big project and it's a needed project, and it's going to be really interesting when we get to the end of it and see some options to, they're careful to always correct me, to reduce the impacts of stormwater. You will never stop flooding. Let's use the F word, right?
Yeah.
They have said you need to stop saying that. You will never stop flooding. Flooding is an act of nature and has many variables in it, but he said that you can take steps, and it's one of the most expensive public works projects that you can undertake to reduce storm water impacts. So we're off to the races.
Great job.
More to come.
More to come.
Okay, as you said, Dustin will be back, Mr. Montgomery, with the economic development in
Yeah,
July.
next July.
Okay,
Or
and while we move on to
next
the
month.
police report with the always important Lieutenant Neighbor.
As far as the past month, we've seen a lot of decrease in thefts. We've had a lot of decrease in calls for service. We've had a really good month this past month as compared to last month.
What do you attribute that to?
Yeah.
I attribute that to being the citizens of Columbia Township are doing a fine job at making sure to look after one another, and I don't really have an answer for that, but.
Everyone
that
was,
one.
everyone
We'll
was
take
at
that.
Margaritaville.
I would have to say that everybody was so happy from the Margaritaville.
Margaritaville.
No, I did hear that the Margaritaville went really well. The officers that were working the detail were very happy, and they said they had a great time. We're still seeing an increase in these post office box thefts. Please remind everybody, the residents, to not put your mail in a blue box right now. Take them into a post office box, hand them to your mail carriers, but do not put them in the blue boxes until they can figure out who's doing this.
Explain that to me. So don't put them in the blue, the big
The
blue.
blue box outside, when you normally mail your mail in the mailbox, you know, not your private mailbox, but the public mailbox, blue box at the corner of the street, do not put your mail in there. Somehow, the postmaster's office believes that someone has a key, it's a master key to open these locks. And they're going all throughout the county, and a lot of different police jurisdictions are getting a lot of reports. I know we received 2 reports, not from Columbia Township. We had one in Silverton, and one resident who lives in Sycamore Township came and reported it to our station in the last 2 days. So it's like this constant revolving door with that.
What they're doing is they're pulling out checks, and they have an ink washing system where they change the amount from 1,000 to 10,000 or 100 to thousands, and then they cash them in, and people's accounts are being overdrawn. So, and a lot of elderly people send checks, handwritten checks instead of digital or
And
you know
me.
other. And you.
You weren't included in that one?
Am I not allowed to say
You said elderly.
elderly? Is that not an accepted term? Sorry.
Sure, I've been called
elderly.
worse.
So, as gifts and cards, and so they're
Yeah.
easy to pull out and
Wow.
pay their utility bills in ink on a check in a obvious to Duke or to another utility, and so they sift through and find those, and then they wash the actual amounts and change them, and it's really hurting people.
I knew people used to do that with their report cards. They put like Polo perfume and they changed the grades in their report cards. So this is new with checks.
You could do it with perfume.
You did. That's back in the old days.
Who knew?
I'll tell you later.
I've never heard about Polish.
But that's a true story. But anyway, all right, go ahead, Lieutenant Neighbor. We didn't digress.
Those are the 2 main things that I wanted to bring up. Obviously, it's the summer months. Everybody make sure you're still locking your windows, still locking your doors. Watch out for motorcyclists this time of year. Obviously, a good time of year for motorcyclists and people out running and jogging. They're very happy with the nice sweltering hot weather we have out there, but they're still out there running. So please watch the safety of the pedestrians and the motorcycle traffic. So other than that, I don't have anything else to report.
Okay. Thank you for the report. Any questions?
I'd like to say that Lieutenant Neighbor was in Silverton's city council meeting last evening, and then left that, and then was talking to me at 9-something at night, and then was back at it early this morning. So we appreciate your round-the-clock efforts.
Thank you. Okay, then we move on to the fire departments, the Little Miami Fire District and the Deer Park Silverton Fire District with Mr. Lamar.
First of all, as always, I appreciate both of the chiefs that service Columbia Township primarily are present, and I'll talk about our block party, but Chief Sefke's been so involved in the community and has a passion around that, and he and his wife attended the block party. They live rather far away, and so it's an effort, so I really appreciate that. I want to say that publicly. But also, at our last fire board meeting, it was one of my favorite things that I experienced was that they have what's called a Lucas 3 device. Melissa, you were there, which is kind of an automated, I'm going to use layman's terms, and if I mess this up, believe me, they'll jump in. It's basically an automated CPR machine that we have kind of on loan for the rest of the year, and we're budgeting for this to have them permanently, which we will all obviously approve for that. But it automates CPR, and I didn't know this, I'm not CPR certified, I should be, but CPR is very strenuous to do, and when you're a firefighter, sometimes you have to do it for long periods of time, 10 or more minutes, and in not in a typical location. It could be on the ground, it could be in a house, it could be in a truck, or a car that's had an accident. And so this machine can do it almost anywhere. It's really light. We have 2 of them that we'll have in all of our ambulances, and it will save lives if we have to use it. It will ease the burden of our firefighters. It does the work, they said, I think of 3 men sometimes, because it takes multiple people to perform CPR as well. And so I was really impressed with that. And I wanted to point that out. And also I talked to Chief Meter a second ago, and they have them in Deer Park, Silverton as well. So both of our fire departments have these new modern machines that will help save lives in the community. Did I mess anything up, Chief? Okay. Thank you. But I was impressed.
Is there anything that either of you would like to say?
Well, good this evening. The only thing I wanted to bring up is last month I mentioned about I was going to request the board to consider a levy.
The fire board.
The fire board specifically. No action needed here. I just wanted to say that I did request that, and if there's any discussion or details, that would be done at the fire board meeting.
Yeah, I believe there's a resolution on the agenda for tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow night.
Yeah, and just to be clear, as it relates to requesting a fire levy, that would be the Little Miami Fire District goes out for their own fire levy, not this board doesn't act on it at all. So it's a separate taxing authority, et cetera. So good luck, and I appreciate you coming here to disclose it
Absolutely.
publicly so that the public's aware of it. And that will take place tomorrow? Is that
We have a
Tomorrow
fire
at
board
5.
meeting tomorrow.
So tomorrow at 5, and you're
Yes.
going to request to the fire board that you'd like to go out for a small levy. Any idea what the size of the levy is? Which
We're
are
waiting to get some certified numbers back, but it's going to be between 1.5 and 2. We're waiting for certification.
That's actually the resolution tomorrow evening, is asking the auditor to identify the funds for either of the 2.
to do as a
Scenarios.
small one as possible.
Yeah, so it's not actually a vote for the levy, it's a vote to request the auditor to provide to certify the funds.
Well, kudos to you and all the fire board and all the other professionals have been involved. I know we've tried to go find a way, or people have tried to find a way to make this as small a levy as possible, and you guys to try to get the fire department to kind of go stand on its own and do great things in the future. So I commend you for that leadership and commend you for wanting to take your story to the public. And thank you for coming in and disclosing to everybody here that we're going to be on a road show to go help you tell your story.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And it's at 5 o'clock. Normally the fire meeting is at 6 o'clock. Tomorrow night is at 5 o'clock if you're interested in it.
Okay, any questions about the fire reports? Okay, then we move on to trustees' reports. We'll start with Susan. Do you have anything you can add? Wait, no, Brian, you will have something to add, so we're going to go to you.
First off, I'd like to show appreciation to the Mayor of Fairfax, Carson Shelton. He invited me to a Memorial Day ceremony that they have in Fairfax, and it was my first Memorial Day as I don't even know what the term is, as a public official, I guess, and it was quite the honor, and I love what they're doing in Fairfax. We've always had a great partnership with them, and so that was an honor. I want to thank him for that. And then I wanted to talk about our block party, the Margaritaville. And first of all, it was great seeing everybody. All of the trustees were there. It was great seeing everybody, great seeing the people in the community. So much work went into it. You said it earlier, it was the best event that Columbia Township May has ever thrown. And it goes without saying that there's so much work behind the scenes. So Lauren, Melissa, Chandra, if you haven't met Chandra, she's really helping us a lot on these events. And then Dustin, Jamie, Rob, and Jim, that's our road and maintenance crew. All 4 of them were there.
And Carolyn helped a lot behind the scenes too, so.
Yep.
kudos to
And
you,
Kim-
too.
Oh, I'm not done with the thanks yet.
Yeah.
Dustin, Jamie, Rob, and Jim were there to set up, to close it down. They were there the entire time. As I mentioned, Chief Sifke was there. I want to thank Kim and Caroline for behind the scenes. Our sheriff department was there. I think 4 firefighters from Little Miami were there the entire time giving out little helmets to kids, firefighter helmets, and they had some flashlights they were giving out to children.
Very
That was a
popular.
really big hit, I think. All this community engagement is huge. I want to thank all the small businesses, and that's one of the main things I took away, is that the small businesses are really part of this community. And the owners of some of these businesses were there. They're really involved in the community and really passionate about it. And I hope when you go to these events, if you can go, that you see that this is I don't know, it feels like a family to me in some ways. And so I'm really proud to be part of that. And then I wanted to read a letter. The last thing is, this is a resident, can I mention her name? It's from Vicky Ott. She lives on Murray Avenue. She attends all of our events, and she can say this much better than I did. She said, "Thank you so much for putting together the block party on June 4th. I had a great time. It was great to see everyone. The weather was perfect," which, by the way, that was a big help. The weather was perfect.
Always is.
Although we showed it St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, yes, we did.
Yeah.
I agree. But
Against
weather-
all
weather's
odds.
critical.
Yes.
Go ahead, let's-
Weather helped. Please thank the people who helped put the block party together. I look forward to them. I saw neighbors I don't get to see every day, and again, thank you. Sincerely, Vicky. So, it's great to see that appreciation, and I love when I see Vicky. She lives a couple doors down. I love when I get to see her come out.
Yeah, she's a sweet lady.
And yes, I saw Susan talking to her. So that's all I wanted to say was, I don't know if you have anything to add to the block party.
I just think it adds a lot of value to our community and gives us some cachet, and I know some other people from other communities and people even including our community are really appreciative of the identity it brings, and I just mean the passion that the whole team puts into it. I see it. And the sad or good news or bad news, however I look at it, is I don't have to do anything, and I feel kind of alone now. Nobody tells me anything. I just show up. So I used to be a little more involved, but I'm good with it. I'm totally good.
What's-
It is nice when you walk in and you go, okay, I didn't do anything.
What's good perspective? You
I
told
keep looking
me.
every speaker in and
Yeah.
doing everything, making sure everything works, running around in circles. Now I just show up.
You were the one who
Drink
came
a
up with
beer.
all the ideas for the.
Yeah.
No, easy. I'm looking for that. It's just funny how it just happens, and it is pure magic to watch it. And is, like I said, the 50 West guys who do a lot of this stuff are really complimentary, not only to our community, what we're trying to do, but to the actual individual events. And between the weather and the production, the band was outstanding. Everything was well done. Obviously, the fire department, the police department was well attended. I just think it's a great community event to bring everybody together. So you saw a lot of people from Ridgewood.
We had
saw a lot-
Reputation.
lot of
Everywhere.
people from- A lot of people from
Ridgewood.
Columbia G, Williams Meadow. So it was remarkable that we saw a lot of people that weren't just Madison Place residents, because a lot of this really, because it's in your backyard, used to be primarily Madison Place attendees, but now you see everybody. So all good. So didn't mean to go off too deep.
No, thank you. That's
Okay.
all.
All right, and after that, any questions about any of the communications? Then we go on to resolutions, and we'll go off to Melissa.
All right, so we have 9, all but 2 are emergency, which means we have quite a bit of legal resolution language to get through. As I've said before, I'll move through them. If you have any specific questions, please, I'll ask for questions. The first resolution, one reading only, is a supplemental appropriation for items that for expenses that arise during the year that were not anticipated in the prior year's budget submittal. And the additional funding on this resolution deals mainly with some of the environmentals and other matters as we start to move the firehouse toward pre-demo stage. I need to read the title of the resolution. To supplement Resolution 2157, the 2022 Columbia Township Annual Appropriation and Supplemental Appropriations 2213, 2218, and 2219. Do I have any questions? I've read the title. May I have a motion and a second to pass?
So moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Klicky?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
The first emergency resolution is resolution, I'll read the title, give you a couple of comments, and then we can, questions and vote. Amending Resolution 2137 of 2021, providing for and authorizing the removal, repair, or securance of insecure, uninhabitable, unsafe buildings or structures, and the removal of tall grass, weeds, and debris, declaring a nuisance for the non-compliant property at 5770 Stewart Road, dispensing with the second reading, and declaring an emergency. This and the next 2 resolutions are all declaring nuisance on properties. I have one word for these 3 properties, and we are increasing our enforcement of the property conditions and the ownership, and that word is atrocious. We have 2 houses that are falling in on themselves and have been condemned, and then 1 other property that the tenant moved out and left debris all in the house, all around the house, and the conditions are deplorable. Because of the law, we are required to work with the Hamilton County Public Health Department, Hamilton County Building Official, the Fire Department, and also our Property Maintenance Code Officer. All have to provide legal notices to the owner and give the owner time to address the conditions. And when all of those efforts fail, then this board takes action to provide a final notice to the owner that if they do not clean up or demolish the property, or demolish the structure, that, because two of the structures are beyond repair, that we will do it for them, and then we will place a lien on their property, which will be a separate resolution. So I have included in your packets photographs, extensive photographs of all these properties, and as I said, deplorable, atrocious. So do I have any questions on this one? This will authorize me to be able to notify the property owner of the action that I just described, and if the property owner does not take action, then we will take action, and then I will come back to you for the authority to file the expenses on their property, so that at some point, if the property or when the property is sold, that we can recoup our costs. And these are going to be significant costs, so we have to take down 2 houses that are at a risk for children that are playing, that harbor animals, and other illicit activities. So these will be emergency resolutions. I've read the title of the resolution. May I have a motion and a second to dispense with the second reading?
So moved. Second. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar.
Yes.
Mr. Kibicki.
Yes.
Ms. Hughes.
We dispense with the second. I'm sorry, I did that to you.
Keep
We're in the groove. We dispense with the second. May I have a motion and a second to pass the
So
resolution?
moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar.
Yes.
Mr. Kibicki.
Yes.
Ms. Hughes.
Yes.
May I have a motion and a second to invoke the
So
emergency
moved.
clause?
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar.
Yes.
Mr. Kibicki.
Yes.
Ms. Hughes.
Yes.
The resolution is in effect and is an emergency. Resolution number 2, resolution providing for and authorizing removal, repair, or securance of insecure, unsafe buildings or structures and removal of tall weeds, grass, and debris, declaring a nuisance for the non-compliant property at 5441 El Maria Drive, dispensing with the second reading, and declaring an emergency. I have read the title of the resolution. May I have a motion and a second to dispense with the second
So
reading?
moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar.
Yes.
Mr. Kibicki.
Yes.
Ms. Hughes.
Yes.
We've dispensed with the second reading. May I have a motion and a second to pass the resolution?
So moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar.
Yes.
Mr. Kibicki.
Yes.
Ms. Hughes.
Resolution is adopted. May I have a motion and a second to invoke the emergency clause?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar.
Yes.
Mr. Kibicki.
Yes.
Ms. Hughes.
Yes.
Resolution is now passed. Emergency in effect. Resolution number, nuisance resolution number 3. I'll read the title. Providing for and authorizing removal of tall grass, weeds, and debris, declaring a nuisance for non-compliant property at 6917 Hurd Avenue, dispensing with the second reading and declaring an emergency. Just quickly before we go on that one, the first 2 were for demolition of homes. This one is for debris and weeds and rodents in the yard. Clarification. I've read the title of the resolution. May I have a motion and a second to dispense
So
with the
moved.
second reading?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar.
Yes.
Mr. Kibicki.
Yes.
Ms. Hughes.
Yes.
We've dispensed with the second reading. May I have a motion
So
and a
moved.
second to pass the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar.
Yes.
Mr. Kibicki.
Yes.
Ms. Hughes.
Yes.
May I have a motion and a second to invoke the emergency clause?
So moved.
Yes.
Roll call.
Second.
Roll
Yes.
call.
Mr. Lamar.
Yes.
Mr. Kibicki.
Yes.
Ms. Hughes.
Yes.
The resolution is in effect and the emergency clause is invoked. The next resolution is part of our police pursuit vehicle fleet management program. We have 6 vehicles that we own that we supply for the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office, and we are due this year to replace one. And fortunately, we started last year with an order, and it is just now in. So I'd like to read the title, Authorizing the Purchase of one 2022 Ford Explorer Police Pursuit Vehicle and Equipment, and replace the 2014 Dodge Charger as part of the fleet management, dispensing with the second reading and declaring an emergency. I'd like to point out on this resolution that the vehicle that we are purchasing, which we get through a state bid or better process, the total vehicle package, including equipment and the decal package, is $33,414. However, our net cost is $18,414. The way that we do this is because we trade in the old vehicle, so there's a nice trade-in value on that. Generally, the vehicles are around 100,000 miles when they come up on our maintenance replacement program, as well as we are still receiving Cincinnati Belting Technologies annual $15,000 grant.
That's great.
So fortunately, for 8 years while we received that grant, which was negotiated by my predecessor, Mike Lemon, as part of the Cincinnati CBT redevelopment of the Kmart site, it writes down the cost of the police cars. And so what we've done is we've moved up from Chargers to SUVs for more room and also for a higher trade-in value. So there's a benefit as well. So do we have any questions about that one? So this is an emergency as well, because as soon as the vehicle comes in, we have to pay the dealership before we can take delivery of it. You've heard the first reading. May I have a motion and a second to dispense with the second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
We've dispensed with the second reading. May I have a motion and a second to pass the resolution?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
May I have a motion and a second to invoke the
moved.
emergency clause?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
The
Yes.
resolution is in effect and the emergency clause is invoked. The next resolution is to professional services for some voluntary environmental assessments in the Plainville Road Business District, which is something that we do every few years. And this one specifically involves the Madison Place Firehouse. As we are approaching final design and pre-demo, there's an EPA requirement before you demo a structure or demolish a structure before a certain year, and I don't recall the year. You need an asbestos, I think it's in the 70s, you need an asbestos and several other environmental things, and so this will take care of that and for some other properties in the district. I'll read the title. Authorizing the Township Administrator to enter into a professional services agreement with Patriot Engineering for voluntary environmental inspections and assessments of certain properties in the Plainville Business District, including the former firehouse at 6904 Murray Avenue, dispensing with the second reading and declaring an emergency. And this will cover preliminary asbestos inspections, phase 1 environmentals, and then the total cost will not exceed $30,000. And it should work out for at least the firehouse property, possibly more, that we can take this from the Plainville TIF. Any questions?
Nope.
Okay. May I have a motion and a second to dispense with the second
So
reading?
moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
We've dispensed with the second reading. May I have a motion and a second to pass the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
May I have a motion and a second to invoke the emergency clause?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
The resolution is in effect. The emergency clause is invoked. 2 to go. 3 to go. One was hiding.
Sorry.
They're all so thick except that bottom one is thin.
Caroline's always keeps us
Yes,
alive.
yeah, it was a test, Caroline. You passed. All right, thank you. This one is to authorize, the township will authorize WP Land, which is the developer of the 8 new single-family homes in the Pear Elm Beach Orchard neighborhood, to use township right-of-way when he begins extending the utilities for the new homes, specifically sewer, water, gas, electric. And so we will authorize him to be in our right-of-way. And then, as part of his housing plan and working with the residents on finalizing the plan in a very cooperative, multi-meeting manner, he agreed to reduce the density by 1 home. I've shared this before in a prior meeting. 1 home, and improve green space, as well as in that green space he will dedicate to the township a permanent utility easement through which we will be able to extend other utilities, including sewer at some point to Elm later this year, which is a package that I'll bring forward to the trustees. Probably it'll be ready to go in July. So this agreement that is attached to the resolution is giving me the authority to enter into with WP Land to allow them to be in our right-of-way for utility extension, and then for them to proceed to survey and dedicate a utility easement to us, and then to perform work in that as well. Do you have any questions? This is the first step of a multi-step project that's going to be an amazing transformation in that neighborhood.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
That this is,
We're-
it's not going to be pretty for a little bit, but when this is all done, it's going to be beautiful
It's
there.
going to be incredible.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about it as the months, over the next coming months. So I'll read the title of the resolution. Authorizing the administrator to enter into a temporary sanitary sewer easement agreement with WP Elm Street LLC, dispensing with the second reading, declaring an emergency. May I have a motion and a second to dispense with the second
So
reading?
moved.
A second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
May I have a motion and a second to pass the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
May I have a motion and a second to invoke the emergency clause?
Moved again.
Second.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
The resolution is now in effect and the emergency clause is invoked. Two more. These are quick, and one of these specifically is terrific news, and we'll let Brian comment if he's interested. Dissolving the Kenwood Fire District Fund number 2195 and transferring unexpended funds to General Fund 1000 and dispensing with the second reading. Kenwood Fire District was established around 1950. Subsequently, we had a series of small fire districts earlier in the community's history: Silverton Fire District, Ridge Fire District, which we still have, and Kenwood Fire District. In early 2000s, Little Miami Fire District was established and absorbed the former Kenwood Fire District as well as other areas. Tax revenue continued to be collected by the township until the new revenue was assigned over to Little Miami Fire District, and then those funds were paid by Columbia Township for a fire inspector, a part-time fire inspector. At a certain point a number of years ago, the fire inspector retired and Little Miami took over the fire inspection duties. Kim Gray brought this to my attention when I first started, that there were surplus funds, specifically nearly $78,000 in this special fund. And because it is a special fund, it's restricted. We cannot touch it without approval through the county auditor, the state auditor, and a resolution. So this gives us the authority to dissolve that fund because there are no debts due to be paid from the fund. There's been no inactivity on the fund, and we can move nearly $78,000 into our general fund, at which time, in talking to Trustee Lamar, that we can cut and present a check to the Little Miami Fire District. We are not required to do so by statute. It actually becomes general fund money, but because of our interest in continuing our partnership with the Little Miami Fire District, we had the discussion that let's put the money where it belongs, and hopefully the fire district can purchase something that's helpful, gear or something like that. Do you want to say anything, or do you have any questions?
It's great. Obviously, $78,000 may not sound like a lot. When I told Chief Sifke this, he was so happy. And it really goes to the fiscal responsibility, I think, of our new chief, our firefighters, and our fire board, and our township. And so this can go a long way. He's got a very long list of how he can use this.
Yeah.
And I'm really proud. I joked around that we should make a giant check, like a game show, but we'll just put the money in their account. That'll be enough. But this is great.
Great stuff.
Great stuff. So I've read the resolution. Did you have something to say? I'm sorry. May I have a motion and a second to dispense with the second reading?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
We've dispensed with the second reading. May I have a motion and a second to pass the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
May I have a motion and a second to invoke the emergency clause?
Moved again.
Second.
Roll call.
I'm sorry. Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
The resolution is in effect and the emergency clause is invoked. Last one. We didn't hit the 45-minute. He challenged me, 45 minutes.
That's a tough one.
Designating a no parking area on Ashley Oaks Drive between US 50 and extending 30 feet north of the entrance speed limit sign and prohibiting parking therein and dispensing with the second reading. I am, as I've shared with the board before, in probably a 2-year Worcester corridor traffic calming safety plan process with TEC and beautification. And as we progress through that study, and the reason it is a multi-year study is because it is an ODOT asset. So as we study and make recommendations and requests, ODOT reviews and then advises as to whether we're able to move forward with those. Traffic on US 50 has continued to increase substantially in volume. The estimates are upwards of 25,000 or more commercial trucks, vehicles, cars a day in both directions. It is a 5-lane federal highway. The speeds that are posted are not always observed, and so as a result, it came to our attention through this effort that the entrance to Williams Meadow, the high speeds required to turn into the neighborhood, and then the speeds required to get up to speed to get out across multiple lanes of traffic if you're going eastbound, requires a safer sight distance at the entrance. And there have been, as the area grows, there have been more people that have been parking at the entrance, which blocks sight distance. So under the Ohio Uniform Traffic Manual, whenever you have the combination of sight distance issues, because there's a hill, there's several curves, there's a lot of trees, and there are other structures that are in the way of the sight distance, and whenever you have high speeds, that combination brings you to the point of a no parking authorization. And so TEC advised a specific length on Ashley Oaks for no parking on both sides, and the township law for no parking requires that we pass legislation and then we post no parking in the neighborhood for 30 days and then move forward to get everyone used to the no parking, and then we are able to install permanent signs. So I would like, as part of our overall program, to move forward with this as part of our transportation safety programming. And we're doing this in other neighborhoods as well. We just did, I think late last year, we did no parking in, I think it was Hillendale, as a result of different changes in that area as well. Have any questions? You? Okay.
I
So-
appreciate you working with the neighborhood to
Yes.
to appease them as well.
Yes,
so
will do.
Great job.
We'll do on that.
Okay.
So I've read the title, and may I have a motion and a second to dispense with the second
So
reading?
moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
May I have a motion and a second to pass the resolution?
Second. No, roll call. I'm sorry. So moved.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
May I have a motion and a second to invoke the emergency
So moved.
clause?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
Okay. I make a motion to approve the payment of bills, bank reconciliation, and financial reports. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
I make a motion for the signing of the minutes and the resolutions. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
I make a motion, we adjourn. Do I hear a second?
Second.
They double jumped on that one, didn't they? Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
Thank you, everybody, for
Thank you.
coming. Thank you.
Lots of things to sign.
Yeah, signing party.